Welcome back, everybody. Busy Monday morning. Overreaction Monday rolls on. I'm really pumped for our next guest in studio. One and only Buffalo Bills Hall of Famer, Bison Hall of Famer, Phil Hansen joins us here. So a little backstory on this. My first full week working at WDAY is when we still had the Bison television contract, and Phil was hosting the coaches show. And you came in on Sunday, and Steve Hallster, my old boss, said, yeah, Phil Hansen's going to be by. And I'm like, seriously, Phil Hansen? And Steve was like, why? Like, well, as a Jet fan, I despise the Bills. The Bills always beat the Jets. So that was my first introduction to you.
Wow, that was a long time ago.
Right?
What year was that?
2006, I want to say. So that was my first thing I said. I hate you. You guys always beat us. So it's great to see it. We're going to talk about the football game in a minute, but it's also it's a rivalry now. But when you played for the Bison Jackrabbits wasn't a thing, was it?
No, we usually beat up on the Jackrabbits. The UND was the big rivalry, the in-state thing. So that was kind of created since I left.
So when created that, and I got here in 2006, and it was just early with the marker. Did you think it was a kind of corny of a deal? Like, okay, they're trying to create something here.
Yeah, but it's all we had to hang our hat on. I mean, there was nothing there. It was the Great West Conference back then. We were just trying to survive for a few years until we could look for another conference. So it was really big, but we were walking hand in hand. We were partners, but we were scared partners.
Yeah.
So that's why they created it. Now it's kind of evolved into something else, which is kind of fun too.
It's been something else the last 10 years, especially now that the Jacks have done this over the last couple years. This is totally changed. Now, night game, primetime TV. You've been in the Dome for some crazy games. What do you think this is going to be like Saturday night?
Yeah, it's epic. It's for this season. At this time, this season is going to be very cool. Like I said, we were going hand in hand into this when we were starting. We didn't know what was going on. And then it kind of created, and we were always on top of that.
Yep.
And the Jacks were they were always just one step behind. And I remember feeling empathy for them a little bit, and they were almost there, and you almost wanted them to just get a game just because they were working so hard at it. And you really admired, what's his name, Stick.
Yep.
How he was almost, you could see it in his face. It's like, what
emotion,
do I have to do to beat this team? Now we're kind of swirling it. We're both at the top. They're at the top of their game. I think they're a little off their top, but we're kind of swirling around too. So this will be fun.
Before I get to the Bills stuff, I want to talk a little broadcasting with you because how you got into this is fascinating to me. With Stace, tell me, for people that don't know, and I think Jeff wrote the story last year, which you can check out at Inforum, but was this almost by accident how the broadcasting thing happened?
Very much so. So I'd known Stacy back in the 80s. He was the camera guy, Stacy Anderson. Now he's up in the office, not even in today, taking another day off.
Thanks for that.
I think he's taking the week off.
It's the Bison Jacks week, and he's off on vacation. I don't know what he's doing.
He got married in the fall of the year, too. That shows what kind of a guy this is. No, but good friend, Stacy. And so I was reffing. I was high school officiating in Minnesota, and I wanted to do it. And it's only 8 weeks long. I really wanted to do it. But on Saturday, I wanted to go out to the Bison game in Montana. And I'm like, for the first part of the week, I'm like, oh yeah, well I'll just drive out there. Then I started looking at distances. I'm like, geez, I could drive to Buffalo in this time. So I'm like, how can I get out there? How can I get out there? How can I get out there? So I knew WDUI flew a plane, and I knew Stacy. So I called Stacy. I said, Stace, hey, I know this is a shot in the dark. Is there any chance I could get on the plane and go out with you guys? You got an extra seat? I'd pay for it, whatever. I just wanted to go. And he said, no, sorry, Phil, the plane's full. And I said, well, okay, well, at least I tried.
Yep.
So I went and about an hour later, he called me back and he said, hey, Phil, we're broadcasting this game on TV and radio. I said, yeah, what? Okay. So, and he said, well, I think it was Mark Spiro.
Mark Spiro.
I think he did the radio, but they were moving him over to TV and they needed a radio color guy. He said, Phil, would you be interested in doing radio color? I said, what the hell is radio color? I don't, what is it? What do I got to do? Oh, no. All you got to do is talk about the game. I said, well, yeah, I guess I know something about the game. I can talk about it on radio. And, oh, okay. So he kind of walked me through it a little bit. I said, that'd be great, Stace, but there's no way I can get out there. He said, no, well, don't worry about that. We got a seat for you on the plane. 1 hour 1 hour later, they found a seat for me on the plane. So, yeah, it was a good story. I did it. That was 2003,
Yeah.
I suppose.
Yep.
And I've been kind of doing it ever since.
Dear friend of ours, tell us what it was like working with Scotty Miller every
Scotty
Saturday.
Miller, just consummate professional. I mean, Scott didn't have a wife or kids. I mean, his family was the Bison, and he just lived and died. And he was all Bison all the time. After he passed, what was that 16, 17, 18, somewhere in there. We had to do something, so we started an endowment scholarship for him. So me and a couple of his friends went out and tried to raise money, and we got about $60,000 in that account. So we can give a $2,000 scholarship to someone in Scott's name, either an athlete in football, men's basketball, or women's basketball.
Wow.
He loved Amy Ruler, and he loved women's basketball, and so the athletic department decides every year who gets that scholarship. And incidentally, this Friday is the endowment scholarship luncheon.
Oh, okay.
So I sit at the table of the Scott Miller recipient, and I always tell them who Scott Miller was.
That's awesome.
And, just about his my life.
That's a great way to put it, because my introduction, those first 2 years, Phil, I was here, was 06 and 07 when the Bison were 10-1 and 10-1. They beat the University of Minnesota, beat balls, and Scotty's calls that with you and both, like, boy, this is awesome. This is how my falls are going to be like. That this is just. When did you start to sense like I'm a radio guy, like I can do this? Like, how early on did you feel comfortable up in the booth?
Well, I was coming off a football career. I have a coach, that tells me what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. I mean, I was looking for that. So after every game, I'd be like, "Hey, that was great, good job." Like, no, that's not what I mean. I mean, give me some practical. I've only got one piece of practical advice in all of my 23 years of doing this. And that was from Jeff Culhane. And he said, "Phil, when I go to you, you're the expert. Don't say, well, don't give me something definitive, even if you're wrong." That's the only piece of advice I've ever got from anyone. I actually went to the NFL because they train former players to do this. I said, well, should I come and do this? Would this be, and they said, well, we do it at the professional level and we don't know if, so I never did, but I was trying to get tidbits all along the way. So, I got to go back to Scotty. One story. So Scotty never swore, but he did get upset on rare occasion. We were out in San Luis Apollo. What is that?
San Luis Obispo.
Yeah, we're out there, and we're in a booth. He was almost sitting on my lap, and I'm in there. My knees are up against. I'm 6'5", 270. I'm just crushed in here. In the second half, I moved back, and I can only move back about this far, and I stretched my leg out, and I kicked the power cord and took us off the air for, I don't know, 5 minutes.
Yep.
Scott just, what happened? And I'm like, what did I do? We figured it out. He put it back in. He got it all figured out in record time and back on the air. And then the next commercial, he goes, Phil, could you just please, very kindly, try not to kick that out? Like, yeah, Scotty, I will definitely. I know where it is now. I won't kick it out.
Oh, I never heard that one. That's good. That's fantastic. Yeah. So tonight is a rather large football game, huh? Bills, Jets. Now,
where's it at?
It's in New Jersey.
Okay, because
Buffalo is still the only New York team, as Josh Allen pointed that out a few years ago.
So, yes.
There's the matchup here between the two teams. Tell me, in your playing days, because when you got drafted, Buffalo was on the come. They were, okay, we got the quarterback, we got the pieces. When you got there, tell me like they thought highly enough of me to draft me in the second round. Like look like it was maybe ready to win kind of team when you got there?
I got to Buffalo when they're coming off their first Super Bowl. We went to 3 more with me there. I was a project, I think. They were going to, okay, here's a guy we can develop. We'll build him up. Well, I got thrown to the wolves. I'm in 2 games in. I'm starting. Because Bruce Smith was hurt or trying to get a new contract.
Holding out, quote unquote. Yeah.
So, so it was week to week. It was good. It was learning on the run. The defense really took me under their wings. It was hard to keep up with those guys, but it was a weak link, but I was getting better.
Yeah.
So and then I'd get injured once in a while and miss a game or so. But it was a good year. Darryl Talley really took me under his wing, linebacker from West Virginia. He was a good guy and always encouraged me and said I was doing a great job when I wasn't. But I needed that my first year. So yeah, that was good.
You must have thought, first 3 years playing, you're playing in the Super Bowl. It was like, this is easy. Every year we're playing in the Super Bowl. Your first 3 years in the league.
Yeah, looking back, I would have liked to end on 3 years going to the Super Bowl. I ended on a 3-13 season.
Yeah.
So yeah, but you got to take it when it comes. And yeah, those are the only 3 years I got. But never won one. I'd give up the right to go to 2 of them to have won one of them.
Yeah.
It's that big a deal. And
that locker room, I can't even imagine those 3. Especially the last one, which was the 4th in a row. Your 3rd. What was that like?
You mean Super Bowl locker room or just locker room?
No, the Super Bowl locker room after that game.
It's a 45-minute halftime.
Yeah.
It's like you got to start another game in the second half almost. Yeah, the Super Bowl is for show. They're more worried about advertisers and getting people, but it's a great. Everybody's watching, so and you're what they're watching. Yeah. So, yeah, like I said, when you lose, it's just not quite as fun. I guess.
Well, you never lost against the Jets. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Never lost.
No, you did. I'm over exaggerating. I can't actually. I looked this up. The Bills lead the overall series 69-58. That's a heck of a lot closer than I thought, because I thought it'd be like 70-30 in favor of Buffalo on that. They only met once in the playoffs, which is before you got there, 1981. The Bills won that one. But that's the backdrop tonight. Bills need it. They've lost a couple in a row. The Jets fired their coach. Yeah. So we got a little backdrop for tonight's game.
Yeah, certainly neither are on the top of their games. The Bills' defense just looks rather suspect. Josh Allen's the real deal. But
have you met him, Josh Allen?
No.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you had or not.
No, met the coach, and a couple of years ago I was out there.
Sean McDermott, yeah. So you got inducted. I got to go with you in 2011 when you went in the Wall of Fame. You go back still every year, right? Back to Buffalo?
This summer. I was back in 1st of August. Yeah.
So what is that like to go back? And does every memory come flushing back to you?
Well, we meet on a golf course, and we still think we can party like it was 1999, and it's not. Most of us are in bed by 10 o'clock. And we're the ones of us that do still have hair, it's all gray like mine. But yeah, it's kind of reminiscent, and you know what, we go right back to that time. Yeah. Talking stuff, and we always ask about families and stuff. But yeah, it's just reminiscing, getting back. Now they're building a new stadium in Buffalo, so it's nice to just drive by. I did go in there a couple of years ago. And I went in there, and they got security all over the place. And I said, I'm a former player. Yeah, you're Phil Hansen. I'm like, yeah, I still got it. And they let me in. And the security guy took me through the whole place. They didn't have to. I was just driving by.
That's outstanding.
And it just made me feel really good that, and Buffalo, the people of Buffalo, they're great. I love Buffalo. People say, oh, the weather.
No.
The people, it's blue collar. I love Buffalo. I really do.
And this is an actual Phil Hansen helmet you have right here. Do you know the date when where is this from?
This was my last one. Wow. So every 3 years we went through helmets. Yeah, little old technology here, but yeah, you can see. So our equipment manager was too lazy, Randy Woody Ribbick. I'll give you some time here. So he's too lazy, so he put white out in the white here, and the blue.
It's a little chip there.
Yeah, he's supposed to replace these decals. He would put blue in there, like a magic marker blue, so he didn't have to change them out. The face mask is pretty new. But yeah, the whole thing is old. But yeah, I got 3 of these.
That's awesome.
This is my last one, and
it's a loaner for us for this season.
Is.
So after the season's done. So if the Bills win tonight, that'll be front and center here
for the
on
rest
the
of the season, or just for the week?
Just for the week until they play again.
Okay.
Okay. Is that okay? We got that deal. We good that?
We could just
the Jets want to still
like that might be okay.
That's what I grew up with every time. That's what it was. They swallowed them up.
But Jets, Jets. I remember the guy with the
Fireman Ed. Yeah.
Is he still there?
He's still there.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, remember him.
Did you like playing at the Meadowlands or no?
Yeah, I did. It was a turf field.
Yep.
I like turf better than grass. Most players say they like grass. The turf, at least you knew what you got there. We went down to Miami, played on grass. It was sand. It was painted sand.
You're on a baseball field, right?
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was always some good memories with Jets games. And we mostly, I think, played. We mostly won most of those games against the Jets early on.
I know that.
Towards the end, it went back and forth. So we'll see tonight. Are we betting on tonight's game, by the way?
Can.
What are we betting? Is this the bet?
We can talk about it off air. How about that? We got to go. It's great to see you, man. Thanks so much for doing this, and we'll see you on Saturday, all right?
Sounds good.
Phil Hansen joining us here, Buffalo Bills Hall of Famer, Bison Hall of Famer, to wrap up our show. We'll come back. We'll get you ready for a great Sports Monday. Hot Mike Wraps right after this.